Starting lineup: Gwen, Neko, Yone, Caitlyn, Leona. Up against Timo, Wukong, Ari, Smolder, Morgana. Rating of the picks for a casual game: Gwen as a top, 9. Neko as a jungler, 7. A little known fact is that Neko can play every one of the 5 positions. Neko is captain versatility. On extremely heavily aggressive teams, all-out aggressive teams, she's also capable of playing top, because she's capable of stunning and holding off, pinning down heavier armed enemies and larger life pool enemies for a prolonged period of time. Optimal role for Neko in pro play seems to be support. The optimal role for Neko in casual play, I would say, is either mid lane or shooter. Another very little known fact about Neko is that actually, in many cases, and in many instances, you will fare better if you build her like Jinx than if you build her like a mage. While it is true that she is technically a mage, we have previously seen very famous players such as Humanoid Worlds Tournament play Smolder with exclusively physical damage items, and the core for doing that with Neko is no different. Every third one of her auto attacks is going to have an added effect. The more that you give her attack speed, the more her passive is going to come into play. Essentially, they have successfully been able to pull the wool over, the developers have successfully been able to pull the wool over the player base's eyes when it comes to Neko, because while she looks fairly innocent, she's actually potentially a monster, and the only thing that holds you back from absolutely dominating with Neko is the looks of it, as well as just the social stigma and the social expectations. For a jungler, all in all, considering that it's in a casual game, people will be uncomfortable with you playing Neko in a casual game. People will rebel against it. So all in all, I will say a 7. Yone as a mid, a 7. Caitlyn as a shooter, a 10. Leona as a support, a 10. Timo as a top, a 6. Ari as a mid, a 6. Smolder as a shooter, an 8. Morgana as a support, I'll say a 7. It would normally be a 5, but we'll add 2 points because it very frequently works. Usually when it's not quite the right position, I'll give it a 5 out of 10, but I'll throw in 2 bonus points because Morgana is a very, very, very effective champion in casual games. Moving on. And for the first play of the game, we have the Hand of Chog here. Smurf account, presumably of Chog, who's going to stand ominously close to the turret here to get the first kill in an area where indeed you would expect to be safe. And this seems to have been a person throughout the rest of the game who made a new account and who enjoys beating up amateurs, because yeah, this person is really part of what makes my journey, to a lesser extent, League of Legends itself, such an impressive experience. It is very interesting how some of these characters don't even remotely look the same anymore when they're played on a certain level. The entire game really evolves when great skill comes into play. And for the second play of the game, I'm going to engage with almost a max life Yone here, with a combined force, but even then, at some point, it looked like he was going to take one of us out, which I guess should have told me back then what direction this game was going in. And for the third play of the game, we're gonna have Morgana help me out with the dragon here and playing bodyguard, which was an uplifting thing to see and a legitimate team player move. And for the fourth play of the game, we're gonna have Yone coming in here. And making smart use of the Rift Herald. At that point, at 20 minutes in, he's already attacking the inner turrets. And we see him just making a joke, essentially, of our entire team. Because this person's skill was on a completely different level. And then for the fifth play of the game, I'm gonna have Yone take out the bottom lane turret here. And he narrowly survives my ignite. And that will pretty much be that. Taking a look at the scoreboard here, looking at my items, I, in this case, oversimplified the situation. In fact, I thought I was going up against Neko, must have been the main reason, and so I went Hollow Radiance, and that was completely irresponsible of me. I also saw Gwen, and so I thought Hollow Radiance, but especially because of the fact that I could see how the enemy mid laner was completely taking over the entire game. I really should have known better. This is, in this case, completely wrong on my part. I just looked for the wrong kind of defense. You get used to, after a while, the main source of casual damage output being magic damage. You just kind of get used to building anti-mage stuff, but this was a significant mistake. And then we always see Dead's Dance always seems too good to be true, and it really just, yeah, it really does feel at times where you get, like you get cheated. Thornmail offers 75 armor, Dead's Dance offers 50 armor. I really don't see Dead's Dance coming in the proximity of Thornmail when it comes to protecting you. Seems to be kind of the thing that applies here, bizarrely enough, because Dead's Dance never seems to bring me in the proximity of the amount of armor that I get from a piece like Thornmail. Essentially, this character is being built as a pure damage mage or as a shooter. And that is precisely why I rate Teemo so frequently a 6 out of 10, is because essentially you're just playing it out of position. I don't know how this grew. I really don't know what would really be the difference between playing Lux as a top and Teemo as a top. What is the difference? Teemo does not belong in top. This is a good way to build your character. I would personally hold off on boots a little longer. Yeah, and this is almost the literal humanoid build here. This is a very good build. Yeah, this is a very good way to build your character. A smolder. Yeah, and again, this is very good. I would personally hold off on boots a little longer, but these items are responsible, good items as Morgana. Liandry and Zanya are some of the most overpowered items in the video game, so this is a solid pick. Yeah, Neko being built here as a pure AP champion, this is not so good and probably why I won an exchange with her. The thing to keep in mind is that really only Neko's ultimate and her first spell benefit from ability power. And she has a very attractive passive that gives her a reward for upping her default attack and her default attack speed. So I would personally not do this in the casuals. You technically have the option, but I think just relying on the one spell, you're going to essentially bring your own performance down. This is an almost perfect Yone build. This seems to be perfect. Yone could very well be played in shooter position. There's no reason not to play him in shooter position. On average, as in a casual game, Yone would be a 9 or a 10 in a shooter position. We just never see it. Casuals need large life pools because their reaction speed is much slower and they're much more solo play and much more selfish in their exchanges. So the perfect mid for casuals is a bit more tanky. But in all likelihood, this is a person who just about mastered Yone on this level of play.
situations.
An enemy has been slain. Turret plating will soon fall.
Who questions my ability? Bring me a real challenge.
An ally has been slain. Enemy double kill.
You got it.
Your turret has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain.
Every mistake is a lesson. Show me the path.
Gotcha. Enemy killing spree.
Never settle for second. My place is at the top. My journey's only beginning.
destroyed a turret.
Been waiting for this.
Your team has destroyed a turret.
Every mistake is a lesson. I got this.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain.
Never settle for second.
Has been destroyed. An enemy has been slain. Your inhibitor has been destroyed.
My place is at the
Turret has been destroyed. Shut down. Your turret has been destroyed.
Who questions my ability? My journey's only beginning.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Adapt to all situations.
An enemy has been slain.
You got it.
enemy is unstoppable. Your turret has been destroyed.